other departments. Oh. So, in sum, and sorry for the long, the way I approach, or the way we approach this, is we need to develop the skills to become change agents that can help either create new organizations or change existing organizations for a better world. Okay? So that would be in a nutshell, in a very brief. Later we can discuss a little bit more. Like I said, I think Claudia is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So maybe now, Claudia, you can explain a little bit about yourself and where you come from and Black Mamba, and then we can have a little bit of a longer conversation. Again, if anybody has a question or an observation or an issue, either in chat or in person or unmuting yourself, feel free to participate.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Mark and Ursi, for inviting me, and to all of you guys that are out there, thinking about your future, if this is something that would actually, really be worth studying. Let me just tell you a little bit about me. So I am an alumni of the MBA program from Esade. I did what back in the days you used to do as an MBA student, which is look for a corporate job and move up the corporate ladder. But when I turned 30, I realized that I needed something more in my life. I know it sounds a little bit airy-fairy, but I felt that I didn't have any purpose, that I was just making stuff for other people and nothing good for the planet, if that makes sense. And that moment of lucidity took me to come to Africa, to this tiny country where I now live called Eswatini, that you probably are not aware of. It's very little people that know, even with the previous name that was Swaziland. So I arrived here in Eswatini, former Swaziland, Southern Africa, as a volunteer because I wanted to do something more than just work for a big corporate and make the shareholders more money. I came as a volunteer. I worked with a handcraft business, and very soon I realized that there was an incredible potential to work with rural communities. And that's why actually made me found Black Mamba, which is a food manufacturer that sources ingredients from smallholder farmers that are using regenerative agriculture methods, and we sell our products basically around the world. One of our main markets is Germany. We have another big market in Taiwan, in the UAE. So Black Mamba, as it is today, 10 years on the line, was built in sustainability. So without sustainability, Black Mamba wouldn't exist. And without this business model that we developed, we wouldn't have the business that we have today. And the interesting thing about that, and the paradox, I guess, is any business advisor would have completely negatively or strongly advised not to build Black Mamba because it doesn't make any business sense. Doesn't make any business sense to start a business in a country landlocked, tiny in Southern Africa, that actually pays premium prices for ingredients because obviously we work with a fair trade business. It wouldn't have made sense. Anybody would have said, "Are you crazy? What are you doing?" Wouldn't it be easier if you work with commercial farmers that grow with lots of pesticides, but then have incredibly big chilies, that you actually don't start your business where you are because it's obviously not easy to grow an international brand from where I stand now. But if that wouldn't be the case, Black Mamba wouldn't exist. So it's very interesting, the questions that one of you guys put on the chat about whether companies will truly value sustainability in the future. And I can tell you that Black Mamba, which is a case study in terms of successful, sustainable business, wouldn't exist if it wasn't because of the push that we've done in sustainability. It's ingrained in what we do, in our roots, in our values, and is not sustainability seen as auditing or compliance. Is sustainability lived through the business itself. So this is sort of my introduction on how you can turn sustainability or purpose as a business model. And then perhaps now that we have a discussion with Marc on how do you see yourselves? I assume when you are doing a master's in sustainability management, you're trying to figure out what can I do after? So hopefully through this discussion with Marc, we get you a better idea. And as well, if you have any questions or any comments about what we do, I'm going to leave here in the chat as well the website of Black Mamba, so you get an idea of better what we do. I didn't explain at bigger level, but just to say that the irony of the situation is that if it was just for purely business perspective, Black Mamba wouldn't exist as a successful business that it is today.
Sorry, I thought I didn't realize I was. Thank you so much, Claudia. So I think what I would be very interested. As you know, I am very interested in cases or in examples like your company. So a few things that you mentioned in your presentation that I find interesting. You mentioned the word purpose, and you mentioned the the word or the expression that Black Mamba would not exist if sustainability was not integrated. And you also said that it didn't make any business sense, but it actually did, right? Because you exist and it's operating and it's working.
Yes.
So it's a great example of defying this idea, no? So I guess my first question would be, when you started, since it didn't make business sense, I mean, what was the biggest challenge or barrier, for example, to get funding or to get resources, to get help, or to get the resources you needed to get the thing started? Because we all know that entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, have to be resilient to fight the no's, but in your case was a little bit extreme. So how did you navigate that?
I think there's a big dose of naivety if you think about it. I think people that start something like what I started, we need to be a little bit naive in the sense that we don't necessarily see all the challenges. We only see the potential. And for me, Black Mamba, what it has become, I'm a very strong environmentalist or environmental activist. And I realized that Black Mamba could become a very interesting engine for what I wanted to do and the change that I wanted to see in the world. But at the same time, I've never been, this is very personal, a big fan of charities and NGOs because I've seen firsthand, especially where I live in Africa, how a lot of entrepreneurial activities have been potentially disregarded or not followed because of charities. So I knew from the beginning that I wanted a business that would help me bring very, very big sustainable aspects from the economical point of view, from the environmental point of view, and also from the social point of view, but creating as well something that would be sustainable from the profitability point of view. If you think about it, if you do a business that is not sustainable, what is the point of doing a business? It would bankrupt after 2 days. So in terms of how do I start it, I literally started out of a dream and out of entrepreneurial mindfulness, if that makes sense. And obviously, because I had done an MBA and I knew certain foundations in terms of management that were very important in order to start thinking about the funds, in order about to thinking about how to structure a manufacturing business. So the part of sustainability for me that cannot be disregarded is the management part, because we were discussing before with Marc, there's several obviously options of jobs that you can do after you do a master's in sustainability management. But one of them being obviously the compliance part, the reporting part, that if you're a consultant, you can do that. But there is also a lot more fun when you actually get your hands dirty and you use those skills that you build to build something that is important for other people when you take that part of sustainability and you link it together with the business. So I think for me, it was probably the fact that I'm also very entrepreneurial, that we had a good case study. Like you said, it's not like we're working on a dream. Like Mamba sells incredibly good products that get appeal all over the world. despite having a price premium, because it has also a story of sustainability to tell, people are buying into that. And it's something that we cannot disregard. So I think we just link together management aspects that were part of my MBA that you would learn, obviously, through an MSc in sustainability management, aspects of marketing that are very much related to sustainability as well, and aspects of me wanting to actually create something that would work with regenerative agriculture, that would support rural communities and work with women. So it was a mix of everything.
Okay. Thanks for that. So connecting to that, I guess one of the things that maybe the people who are attending here would be very interested, or anybody interested in doing a master's like this or studying something in this field would be interested in, is to know what sort of skills or what sort of competencies, capacities are companies looking for. And in this sense, you're also a great example. So when you hire somebody or when you think about potentially incorporating somebody new in your organization, what sort of skills are you looking for? What are the things that you like, and what are the things that you try to stay away from?
I like someone that has the willingness to change the world. I know it sounds again a little bit airy-fairy, but you mentioned before that you consider yourself an agent of change. And I believe anyone that believes and wants to do something about sustainability is at the core an agent of change. So the first thing that I look into is somebody that is willing to innovate. I think innovation is something that is incredibly important for sustainability, especially from the practical point of view. Because, and just to give you an example, a thing about sustainability could be, for me, how do I make my packaging more sustainable while keeping my cost low, because I cannot increase the price of my products up to a certain level, based as well on the limited availability of certain products, because of the fact that I live in a place when I don't get access to everything and to all the biggest innovations in terms of sustainable packaging. So that's where you become innovative. That's when in the words that we use here in Southern Africa a lot is that when you make a plan, how do you actually keep on working towards sustainability in your packaging while not having all the resources available? So for me, a spirit of innovation and willing to change despite challenges is something that I value incredibly when I want to work with someone. And I would say also an entrepreneurial spirit. I think people that are willing to take risks, people that are willing to understand that sustainability is not a some zero game. It's not either full sustainable or zero sustainable, that you're always playing around on how to maintain that as a value and a foundation, but how do you improve what you can improve and live at peace with what you have to live at peace? So in essence, innovation and entrepreneurial spirit are two of the main things that I would look for someone that comes and works with me in sustainability, which is basically around anything that we do in the business. And in terms of complementary skills, and something that we're seeing a lot these days would be as well being able to understand data and use it to improve things. Like for instance, you're constantly talking about carbon footprint and improving basically your carbon footprint and your data and everything you do in sustainability, and having people that are able to understand data, to look for data, to research as well, is very, very important in the field.
Thanks for that. If I can take this a little bit further, I find, so one of the approaches that I couldn't agree more with you, and one of the approaches that we have is that one of the key strengths or powers or opportunities that the field of sustainability brings, sustainability understood not only in environmental terms, but in broader also social, brings to the table, is it forces us to look at the problems differently. It forces us to use different lenses to look at the same problem, and that helps us to understand the problems. It makes our life more difficult because we for example, if we need to talk to different stakeholders and to add value to different stakeholders, it's like shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. You have to find, but if you create a system in which there is value creation for different stakeholders in which. So my question here for you, at least that's my impression, but I want to know if you agree with that. Do you think that sustainability as a concept is an engine for innovation, is something that kind of forces companies, when done with conviction, when done not as a compliance issue, but done as a strategic issue, it forces innovation in the company. And in that sense, without wanting to put you in the spot, can you think of, or can you remember one specific example or case or moment in which you say, because of that sustainability issue, we had to invent this product, or we had to invent this packaging, or we had to invent this transportation system, or we had to, an example that can put this into practice?
Yes, absolutely. I would say it's a constant dilemma, like you do really need innovation. Sustainability becomes an engine of innovation, and innovation becomes an engine for sustainability. I mean, they retrofit themselves. Again, based on the context where I am, I'm living in a country that doesn't have as many options as other countries. When I travel and I do trade shows, for instance, in the UK, and I see the myriad of environmentally sustainable solutions for packaging, I get very jealous. Like, I don't get, for instance, in terms of labels, I don't get paper-based labels that are suitable for our type of product, that will work for long distance traveling, that would work for cold weather, that would work for the fact that it's a liquid that is actually bottle hot, like we do hot sauces. So I saw in the UK an option of getting those labels that I wanted that were paper-based, because obviously we want something that is biodegradable as much as possible. Recyclable is the second option, but biodegradable, obviously. And the trade-off would be buying them in the UK, which would be a lot more expensive because obviously they trade in pounds. We trade in Emalangeni, which is like a currency similar to the rand, so a weak currency. By bringing those labels into Eswatini, which would be, again, the carbon footprint to bring the labels here, plus the cost of bringing the labels here, or finding an alternative that would work here. So just to say, that's why you're innovating all the time, and that's why it's so important, because I need a solution that is sustainable, in this case from the environmental point of view, but also sustainable from the economical point of view, but that keeps sustainability as one of our foundations. So this is something that we're constantly looking into. And I can tell you, unfortunately for us, we haven't been able to look into the labels that we want specifically to become more sustainable in our packaging. But on the other hand, another thing that we do is we work out with what you call bottle sleeves. Let me show you here. So basically, in a bottle like this, for protection and for food safety, you need to put this bottle sleeve. We used to have PET bottle sleeves because that was what were available. But then I started thinking out of the box, and I said, hold on, but wines also use that sort of bottle sleeve. And there's so many wine producers in the Cape, which is close by in Southern Africa. And I'm sure a lot of them are looking into more sustainable options, because sustainability sells as well. If you are able to show that you're not greenwashing, and you're able to show that your product is more sustainable, you get more chances to be perceived as a positive brand by the final consumer, which means more chances for you to get a distributor. So I went to the wine industry that has nothing to do with my hot sauce industry to look what they were doing for bottle sleeves, and discover that they were doing aluminum bottle sleeves that would be permanently recyclable or upcyclable. As you probably all know, if you work with plastic, microplastics is what you end up creating no matter what, because you cannot recycle plastic ad infinitum, while you can with aluminum. So now these ones that you see here, you cannot really probably see it, but they're not made of plastic anymore. They're made of aluminum, because we managed to source a solution from wine industry to improve the sustainability of our packaging. So this is what we do constantly. And for instance, just another example, like water, it's an incredible important resource. So you become someone that is all the time, and this is across my business. I say we don't want to waste water, not only because it's important, but also because it's costly. And how do we actually make arrangements throughout the business so that we support water in a better way? And how do we teach the farmers that we work with to improve how they manage the water? So again, it becomes something that where everybody's involved, where we trade ideas from whatever we read, from whatever we know, from practicality, from the land itself. Farmers sometimes come with ideas that you haven't even thought of that are much better than we've been doing. And it's simple ideas. It's not something that requires sophisticated equipment or mechanisms. So that is for me at the end what could be sustainability in action, and why innovation at the end is an inherent part of it. Without innovating, you cannot really build a sustainable business, at least in a place that has constraints and limitations and challenges like the ones that we have.
Thank you. Very interesting, Claudia. I was thinking while you were explaining that and some of the words that you mentioned, one of the things that we are seeing now is as sustainability has become a more accepted and mainstream concept. There are those who criticize that actually a lot of these consulting firms that are helping in sustainability, what they're doing is they're not using the terminology we're using today. They're not change agents, but they're greenwashing agents. These are organizations that are basically telling them, don't worry, I can decode the regulation maze and the regulation tsunami. I can find you solutions so that you don't need to comply with everything, that you can look good without actually doing a lot. And then connected to that, there is this, I don't know if it's general, but there's this perception by some consumers and some people that are saying it's hard for us to differentiate between the legitimate, purposeful, real initiatives and those that are not. So my question is, how do you, I mean, what do you do to try to convey that message that, hey, at Black Mamba, this is not negotiable. This is for real. This is, I mean, when we face a trade-off and there is an issue, sustainability is a must. How do you know? How do you avoid or not avoid, but how do you navigate this difficult topic of no, how do I know that you are real and you are you are not different? Because probably if we look to other competitors, they would have claims similar, no? But then maybe you go deeper and they are not doing the same things. So what do you do? Just
It's a very difficult one. I'm very wary of greenwashing. It's something that I don't abide for or enjoy, but I see that being done a lot, because when sustainability become trendy, then a lot of larger organizations where they don't do a profit, triple bottom line, which you call people, planet, profit, but they are only tasks to create value for their shareholders. It's very difficult to justify why you would pay more for improving your supply chain, or why would you pay more for doing the right thing, if that makes sense. So what I've noticed, though, which is very interesting, is there is a lot of greenwashing, but younger generations that have access to all the information in the world in the palm of their hand via their phones are much better at pointing out the businesses that are doing greenwashing versus the ones that are doing real changes. And you see that every day. You can be Coca-Cola and now being saying, I'm very sustainable. You're going to be cut off and you're going to be asked and tasked. And through social media, through platforms where you have a much better sort of direct contact with other people and what they do, I think younger generations in general become much better at being judges of that greenwashing. There is still a lot, of course, and it's up to us as responsible consumers as well to just go a little bit beyond whatever the companies are proclaiming that they're doing to understand what they're really doing. However, the very interesting thing is that, as I said before, what I realize is that you're always navigating in a gray area because there is what you want to do and there is only what you can do based on limited resources. So, one thing that we did, and also to sort of like blind Black Mamba in the future, is how do we make sure that every decision that we make is ingrained in sustainability? We put that on the documents of creation of the business. So there is another very interesting company that did that called Tony Chocolonely that you probably know, very big chocolate producer. And what they did is that they created next to the documentation of registration of their business, something that says that whomever buys and whomever runs that business in the future needs to abide by the bylaws that were created. So essentially, they will blind that sustainability core for whomever does it in the future, which is what other businesses are doing, which is what we did. So even if Black Mamba gets sold in the future, whomever is going to buy Black Mamba will have to abide by the rules of which Black Mamba was created. So that's a legal part that you can work on as well. But there also the aspect that is very interesting is that, as I said before, if you're looking purely from a commercial perspective, sustainability also sells. Uh, there is so many things that are going wrong in the planet that again, I think is more the younger generation. So you guys that are doing your masters in sustainability are going to be key in moving the world towards a better place where we need it. Is the fact that consumers are now tending to buy more from sustainable brands. It is a true, it obviously there's commodities and stuff, there's price points that you cannot change, but the reality is that more and more people are inclined to buy from brands they love, and they love brands when they're doing something good for the world. So sustainability becomes also a mechanism for making people buy your products. I know for a fact there's another million businesses like Black Mamba out there that do hot sauces because it's not rocket science, and it's probably easier if you do it in an environment that is not as difficult as Black Mamba. But I know as well that one of the points of selling of Black Mamba is the fact that we really care, and the fact that we actually work with communities and we work with women, and our storytelling says that all the time. So we know that sustainability is what helping us to be not only perceived as different, but as better. And in the last point that you mentioned about consultants, I think there's a little bit of everything. And the more you use your critical mind and your sort of agent of change mentality to understand it, the better we all will be. Because there is a lot of greenwashing out there, but you can also work with people that are genuinely interested in changing the world.
Thank you. We have about 10 minutes left because also I would like to have a quick checkout at the end. So maybe we can open now to see if there's any questions to Claudia, to myself, to or generally observations. I don't know, Can, Jan, I want to say this correctly, Yeshwandam. Did I say that right? Is there any question or any topic or any issue, opinion that you'd like to share, or you would like to use this space to ask us? Or maybe you can use the chat too if you prefer.
Or if you want to share, I mean, I don't know. I guess back in the days, there was no such a thing as an MSc in sustainability because back then it wasn't a topic that was as important as it is today. But maybe I remember when I was my time to go and study a master's is like, what do I see myself doing in the future with these masters? Do you have any ideas that you'd like to share? Whether you see yourself working more on compliance, which is something that people tend to think about, or more on an entrepreneurial sort of activity or something related to innovation? Because for me, it would be also, I'm curious to see who would be the people that I could be working in the future that study sustainability.
Yeah. Anybody wants to share?
If you're shy, don't worry, guys. I understand as well.
What are the challenges of bringing sustainability to developing countries? Ah,
God.
that's a that's a great question. Uh,
Yo,
you want to
um,
start? I have some thoughts too, but go ahead, Claudia.
very, very quickly, I think, Yang, you're it's interesting because you might think, and there was something that actually was a thought that I had coming from the Western world, that when you don't have your basic needs satisfied, it's very difficult to focus on sustainability. If you don't know what you're going to be putting on your plate tonight to eat, it's very difficult to focus on what's going to happen in 30 years when we don't have water because of AI. So that was the sort of mentality that I had. And that's why I thought it was very difficult to talk to the regular people that are around in a country like Eswatini, where 63% of people live below the poverty line, on how to bring sustainability to the table. However, as usual, I had to eat humble pie, because what you realize is that even people that don't have the sort of privilege that other people have are very interesting in keeping their resources. So I get caught every day by people that are part of a big sustainability group that we have in Eswatini, that are people that live in very, very remote rural areas, or that are close to markets, in urban areas that are very underprivileged, because they've seen with their own eyes what not taking care of sustainability causes: diseases, garbage, things that are not looking well, like sources of water. So one thing that I've noticed is that, and it's sad in a way, is that we see it so much everywhere, the consequences of not taking care of our resources, that people even in developing countries are now realizing, hold on, we have to do something about it. So I think challenges is to kind of do sort of like change, or like mind change. But I think unfortunately the world is allowing us to do that a lot faster than we wanted. And then the other thing is leading by example, as easy as why is Black Mamba doing that? And I keep on getting people all the time, but it would be so much easier if you bought from commercial farmers. Why do you have to buy from small farmers that do things with regeneration? And just by the fact that we say it's part of what we are and what we do, and then people say, okay, so they're doing what they said they're doing. So there is definitely something positive out of what they're doing. Otherwise, why would they do it? So I think leading by example, and not necessarily seeing developing countries as more challenging. I think we do have a spirit of scarcity that bring us to be more innovative, if you want. We don't have money, but we have innovative minds that are working on sustainability projects from scarcity.
Yes, if I can add to this, because I agree with you completely, Claudia. I would say one of the things. So the question is a great question, Jan, and that's one of the things that we need to work on and to develop. But one of the things that I find very interesting is that a lot of the most interesting, innovative things that are happening right now are exactly in these countries.
Exactly.
And a lot of things that have a lot of potential. And I think that's one of the ways in which sustainability really shows its potential as a source of innovation, because there feels like reverse innovation or frugal innovation that were born in developing countries, in which they said, hey, wait a minute, I have if I think of these things as constraints and then I try to innovate, I will solve problems that it would have never occurred to somebody in Barcelona. Right? And so that it's become, there are companies that are creating research and development centers in developing countries precisely because the mentality, the situation in itself can be very difficult, but can be an extreme source of innovation. And on this, I would like to say, I like very much what you said about the humble pie. One of the things that we need to do in this field is learn to empathize and learn to understand the realities and the problems of where we are. And one of the biggest assumptions that wrong assumptions that a lot of people in our culture have is there's a lot of innovation and a lot of creativity, a lot more, because you need to in a developing country, you need to be creative to survive. So there's a lot more creativity and innovation going on there. So if you are in an atmosphere, in a field full of creativity and innovation, that's where you should focus the energy. But great point. Any other questions, either for Claudia or for me, or any other thoughts you want to share? That's the importance of studying sustainability.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Very good. I leave that to you, Marc, because you're more into the whole sort of like MSc than me, but I'm curious to know as well.
So let me answer this quickly, and then we'll go to the next one from the next question from Can. When I think that the key thing that we have to understand is that sustainability is not. Let me make sure that I frame this correctly. It's not a completely different or separate from management. It's a part of management. It's a different way of management. To give you this example, when we created the Master of Science in Sustainability Management, we created it, we presented it to the accreditation agencies, it got approved. And once it got approved, we said, oh, we made a mistake. We didn't want to call it Master of Science in Sustainability Management. We wanted to call it Master of Science for Sustainability Management, because that's what it is. It's how do we manage for sustainability? How do we transform organizations, companies into agents of change? So I think of sustainability management as how do you manage in all the departments, finance department, operations department, marketing department, human resources department, but with a different mindset, with a different approach, right? So it's how do we understand the problems differently? How can I contribute to change? So what's the importance of sustainability, to learning sustainability? I think that one of the big problems that we have in the sustainability field is precisely the wrong perception that is not as technical and as knowledgeable or as reputable as corporate finance or marketing, or it's as technical as that. So there are things to be learned in order to develop those skills, right? So in this sense, it can be helpful. It can be necessary. If you want to work or you want to, let me say, am I saying your name correctly? Yeshivandam? Okay, I'll assume that it's wrong. But so how do you, if you decide that that's the field you want to work on, if you want to have an impact, if you want to be a change agent, then you need to develop those skills, I would say. You can develop them. I mean, and just to be clear, even though if it's a 1-year full-time program, you'll just scratch the surface. You'll start to get the basics, the learnings, and then you're going to need to practice and work. And I don't know how Claudia feels, but I've been working in this field for 30 years and I'm still learning every day. So it's not about absolutes. It's about learning how to look at problems differently, learning how to treat people differently, learning how to understand yourself differently and change yourself so that you can understand others, learning how to empathize, learning how to establish dialogues. A lot of companies don't have a clue how to do that. They don't know how to talk to their clients, how to really talk to their clients, how to talk to their suppliers, how to really talk to their suppliers. So these are skills that need to be practiced. Sorry, I talk too much because I'm very passionate about this because I really feel very strongly about this. I don't know if you want to add anything, Claudia.
No, I 100% agree with you. At the end is I mean, and that it just makes me laugh because I can see that we're very passionate about it. And if you link that passion that you have about the fact that you applied already or you're thinking about something about sustainability is already a big sign because we really need people to get their hands dirty with this. But we need people to get their hands dirty with the enthusiasm, the energy that me and Mark have, for instance, but also the tools and the skills, because you can be as enthusiastic about anything that is related to sustainability, but not having the tools and the skills and the innovative spirit and the entrepreneurial spirit that is needed to do that. So at the end, it's just like you say, it's a combination of knowing, sort of channeling that passion and energy that we have into skills and experiences that will allow us to make something better outcome at the end, a better outcome for all of us on the planet.
We are out of time, but let me just in 30 seconds answer Can. I think this is a great question you asked. To what extent are ESG frameworks actually driving measurable environmental outcomes? To what extent or they're just primarily risk management and reputational tools? My personal view is right now, mostly they are risk management and reputational tools, the ESG frameworks. But you need to learn them too, and you need to understand them too. But precisely that's what I was telling you at the beginning. You need to learn what you need to do for compliance and what you need to do for conviction, what you need to do for as a change agent. And we are hoping that all of you who study these programs or to work in this field, you become change agents, but you also need to understand how these frameworks work, how these reporting initiatives work. So you need to understand that. But I do think I agree completely with you that it's primarily right now a risk management and reputational sort of tools. We are 1 minute over time. I don't want to. I guess you are all busy with other things. I really want to thank you all for joining us and for considering Esade, or like I said at the beginning, just simply for considering working in this field. That makes me so happy. Let me, as a checkout, just ask you to briefly, connecting to the question I asked at the beginning, can you put on the chat so that we can all go home with a little bit of a more feel good, something that you're optimistic about, something that makes you, makes you hopeful, makes you excited, something that you say, hey, that's cool. It would help us a lot. So in this field, we need to help each other, do a lot of therapy and help each other stay optimistic because we see a lot of very ugly things. So any thoughts, anything, any ideas you can share as checking out? Biodiversity finance. Good one. Good one. Yes, Claudia, I like yours.
That's my hope. I can't wait. My generation didn't manage. So I'm putting all that burden on you younger people that you need to find us a way forward that we couldn't manage.
Yes, that's what we do, professors. We say, I teach, and I hope that then you do the change.
Exactly. And same, you see, Kantemir says the same. There are people who care about the future. We do.
I love that so much.
That's good. Thank you.
So thank you all. Thank you for your time. Feel free, any question or any issue, feel free to email me or to ask through admissions or to me directly. I don't know, Ursi, if you want to say anything.
No, I mean, thank you to both of you, first of all. And then Claudia, can you remind our friends here where in what countries they can find your products?
Yes, thanks, Ursi. So basically, we sell in Germany, we sell in Taiwan, in the UAE, in Czech Republic, in Norway, in South Africa, in the US, and in the UK. Those are the countries where we sell the most.
And for sure, many more to come, right? So I really recommend, if you're lucky, I mean, those of you that are here to live in one of those countries or travel to one of those countries, I really recommend to try out the products, because I mean, you will not only experience like a really, really amazing taste, but you will also experience like the good work. I mean, the amazing work that's behind, behind those products, and then hopefully also spark your interest to do the master in sustainability. So if you have further questions, our team is here. Feel free to reach out to me, and we're happy to guide you. And hopefully, some of you, if you haven't signed up yet, you will be taking very soon decision to join Esade and to learn more, right, about the topic. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marc.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Claudia. Thanks for
We
being
need you
here.
guys.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.